And a miracle happened. He wanted to find out where his parents were, and he found his parents back in that camp. Of course, at the end, his parents never made it, and his brothers all got killed. But that particular cousin that was hiding under the bed with him, I went to the Dalton school until, like I told you, Jewish boys and girls could not go into that. It was a public school, like Montessori school, but we had to go to the Jewish school. And she went to the Jewish high school, which was all in one realm. She happens to be, was a very good friend of my cousin. So when we did homework, Holland is a very strict school as far as schooling. We might have the worst teeth, but we have very good schools. Very good school. And in ninth grade, even in fourth grade, I knew already I had to study 3 languages besides Dutch. I learned English, I learned French, and I learned German. So it had a lot of homework, and there was a lot of homework. So sometimes I went to my cousin's house, because I didn't want to be with my sister, right? So I went to my cousin's house, she had a big desk, and that's how I met Anne Frank. So each week, there was a train at the station in Amsterdam. And 2,000 people got a notice in the mail that you have to be at midnight that Monday night at the station. My parents were very similar as Anne Frank's parents. If you read the book, you read she was born and her sister were born actually in Germany. Her parents came from Germany because in 1933 Hitler came to power in Germany. So first he tried to do those laws of expulsion and discrimination against Jewish people already in Germany. So my parents, just as Anne Frank's parents, fled to Holland because Holland was a very safe haven. In World War I, Holland was spared. It was neutral, like Sweden and Switzerland was in World War II. And in World War I, in World War II, it did not save. So that's why a lot of people went from Germany, escaped to Holland. And every week, you would get this notice, and then you would come to school, and you would say goodbye. And sometimes you came to school, and your teacher was gone because she was on that list. So more and more kids were crammed in one class. First we had 10 classes, then we had 9, 8, 7, because as the teachers were called to go to the camps, less and less were there. And the teacher would have like a calendar, and everybody's name was on there. And they tried to make it kind of like a game, even though it was a very sad game, because you knew you had to leave your home, and all you could take with you was a backpack. And everybody put in there, parents tried to protect their children and not tell them, because nobody really knew what was happening in the beginning. But we knew we were taken away from our home. So they went to the train station, and from the train station, they went to this gathering camp. And then it was a call. My father, my mother, my sister, and I, we had to be at the station. And it was July 1942. And something happened that my father said, we're not going. We're just not going. And he gave my sister and I, said, until they come through the door and actually take us, we're not going. My father was very, very brave. There were 2,000 people called, like I told you, every Monday on that train. That train was heading straight to Mauthausen. And Mauthausen was a horrible camp in Austria, not far from Vienna. And the end of that train was that particular train, when it got, nobody survived. They killed everyone, every mother, every father, every grandmother, every grandfather, everybody who got off the train didn't even have a day of work. They killed them right away. So the following day, we went into hiding. And so that's how I survived the war, because I was in hiding. I was just very, very lucky that nobody betrayed. Last time I saw Anne, I was probably just before she went to hiding, 1942. She went into hiding, because that's when I went into hiding as well. Well, I tell you, hiding as a child is one thing. Hiding as an adult is different. And, you know, it was such a great opportunity to be able to hide. You should ask me, how did you hide? How did you do that? How did you find a place where to hide? It was very secretive. You couldn't even ask everybody on the street or in the market. You have a place to hide for me, then somebody might listen. So you had to do it very, very secretive. And then, of course, most places were they tried to find a hiding place. And sometimes you found out that people were hiding there. And if they were lucky, we found out that somebody is after us, and we had to find another hiding place. So you had to move. And Frank never moved from this place. And when you read the book, you know that she was actually hiding in where her father worked. It was a factory.
Yeah.
Okay, now how my dad was hiding till the very, very last day. Because my dad got imprisoned 3 times and very tortured. So, because my dad is the one who was like your grandfather, helped while we were in hiding people to find places. And somebody betrayed my dad. So my dad got caught, and the Nazis came, and they threw him in a cell, and they tortured him. And then he got escaped. They needed my dad at that particular time. That particular time, they came into the house, and it was my father, my mother, my uncle, my sister, and me. And each of those Nazis took one of us into a different room, to a different corner. And they said, you had an underground meeting in this house. And I didn't even know what an underground meeting was. I had no idea, right? So my mother said, and one didn't know what the other one said. And I'm a great believer in God helping, even at your worst moments. That everybody said, no, there wasn't anything. Now, when the Nazi came to me, he gave me a bar of chocolate. And you know, in the war, there are no candies, there are no chocolates. So he tried, it was like a bribe. Maybe I will talk, but of course I didn't talk. And then I said to him, leave my little sister. I was afraid my sister's gonna talk, but she didn't talk either. So nobody betrayed my dad. But nevertheless, they still took my dad. They said, we'll just take you for question. We're gonna bring you back in an hour. But he wasn't brought back in an hour. Long time ago. So remember how they would go and dress in German uniforms, and they would just say, open the cell, but really they were the good guys and not the bad guys. So that's how my dad escaped. And I remember very, very well. I wasn't home. It was a Sunday afternoon. And I went to I Love Music. And I ran away. And I was, you know, I was a little bit of a rebel. I couldn't always stay in hiding, so I ran away. And I went to that concert without my parents even knowing it. And all of a sudden the bombs fell. And so there were the house next door, I was just lucky. I could have been killed with a bomb. So you're asking when everything is aflame. You know, in one way, we were happy that the bombs came because these were English bombs that were bombing the headquarters of the Gestapo, of the Nazis. So we were happy that they came and bombed. Unfortunately, most of the attacks they didn't pinpoint it exactly, so usually a lot of civilians died as